Hi, I'm Amari Terrain, and our group did our presentation on the coronavirus and how it affects different states. So I picked Indiana because that's where I live currently. So basically in Indiana, the total number of cases are 14,395, and then the deaths is 785. And then in my specific county, St. Joseph County, there are only 533 cases. And so when it comes to like schools and colleges and stuff, those were shut down pretty relatively quickly. My little sister was moved to online schooling before I'd even come home from school, which was like towards the end of March. I mean, I waited, but still. So they moved very quickly when it came to like shutting everything down. And so they're planned for reopening. As of now, only essential businesses are open, so like restaurants, supermarkets, and pharmacies. When it comes to restaurants, you can order your food, but you can't sit inside any of them, which is basically the same for all of the states in the United States. The governor's plan is to reopen everything slowly and lessen the restrictions very slowly. They're originally trying to open towards the end of April, like this weekend, April 27th, but they pushed it back to May 1st, which is the same as Ohio. Yeah, so their plan is to lessen the restrictions very slowly, but social distancing will still be very prominent. When it comes to like club and stuff, I know my little sister, her club season for volleyball got canceled solely because like tournaments were canceled, and if they weren't canceled, they weren't allowing any spectators to be there, so it just didn't seem like it was worth traveling anymore and practicing, so her season got canceled, sadly. And when it comes to like working, so I work at Old Navy here, and we are not allowing anybody in the store, but we are opening again for shipments, only for employees. So I'm allowed to go in and work for shipments, like shipping stuff out to people, but I'm not allowed to interact with any customers. No customers are allowed inside. And there's like two groups that get a certain amount of hours. So there's the A team and the B team. So they're trying to also restrict the amount of employees that you come in contact with. So you're only working with that group of employees until the restrictions lessen as well. So they're also working on social distancing within employees also. In my opinion is I'm excited that everything's reopening. I'm also very nervous about us reopening things very like too quickly, and people like as soon as things are open again just running into stores and not social distancing, and eventually probably having a second wave. I know that every other country has had a second wave. We have not yet, but people are also saying that is inevitable that we will. And also, I'm also nervous because instead of waiting for the numbers to go down or like at least stay the same for the corona cases, every day the corona cases in our country have continued to go up, and we are, instead of waiting till they become at a constant, we are just reopening, which I can also understand why reopening, but it is a little nerve-wracking and it makes me nervous. But I am excited to go back to work and see my coworkers and make more money because I'm broke. But I do worry about my safety a little bit. And these are my references. Thank you for listening.
My name is David Weaver, and my topic today is Pennsylvania's response to COVID-19. So to begin, the total amount of cases that there are in Pennsylvania were 41,165. There were 1,550 deaths. There were 157,428 cases that tested negative. And the leading age group that was affected by COVID-19 was between 25 to 49, which is 38% of all cases. The data does suggest, though, that we're on a downward slope, meaning that the new cases are declining, in which we can effectively start putting the response into the phase 1. So as for the response, Pennsylvania being one of the states that have a lot of cases, they were in a very strict closures and restrictions during the COVID-19 outbreak. So currently we're still under technically what they would consider the red phase, which is all closures of non-essential businesses, all stay at home. So everyone who's not mandatory to go to work are gonna stay home, stay in place, and limit the amount of contact they have with other people. So they also recommend that we use facial coverings rather than using N95 and regular surgical masks to save the resources for first responders. So as of recently, Governor Wolf issued that May 16th will be the new opening day for the whole state, and where the phase reopenings would start, where we are in the red phase, which means there are only essential businesses, no schools open, and large gatherings are prohibited completely. On May 16th, we'd enter the yellow phase. There'd be enough cases to be declining that we'd be able to enter that. And the yellow phase would be non-essential businesses are allowed to reopen. They can start their businesses back up, following all guidelines, using masks and protecting their employees, while anyone who can still work from home or telework are recommended to do so still. And schools are still going to stay closed, and large gatherings are prohibited for over 25 people. And then finally entering the green phase would be complete reopening into what they consider a new normal. We would still be following guidelines for masks possibly, keeping 6 feet away from each other, but most businesses and schools are allowed to reopen, including gyms, spas, barbershops, all that kind of stuff. Finally, for my opinion on the Pennsylvania response, I think that the majority of the state is ready to reopen now, and that a lot of businesses are suffering because of so. I think that because a lot of businesses are failing, we need to open as fast as possible. Doesn't mean to open recklessly. We should still follow all the CDC guidelines of using masks, but companies like grocery stores and hardware stores that are still open are already following those guidelines and doing it in an organized fashion to both keep business rolling, save the economy, and to keep people safe while doing so. As someone that has people who are sick with COVID-19 in my family, I would say that it is very important that we don't overwhelm healthcare services by pushing everything too fast. But we need to get the ball rolling so that way the economy isn't completely collapsed once we get back to it. And so, as the comment on the Harrisburg protest, people were protesting to reopen the state and saying that it was taking too long. But they did it in a very unorganized and unsafe fashion. By majority of people, even seeing in the picture, were not using any facial covering at all, and they were very close together, basically blowing every single CDC regulation out of the proportion. And these are my references. I use both Pennsylvania and the CDC, but I also used just Pennsylvania's government website in total to get the information.
I chose Seneca County because I live here, we go to school here, and basically this is my story. We're living in a historical time, so I think that it's important to look back on things, and hopefully we'll be able to look back on this in this response. So Seneca County's COVID-19 response has a lot to do with TU as a whole, if you think about it. We're doing distance schooling, and I mean, I'm not too distant. Again, I live in Tiffin, whereas you guys can do your response of Ohio or your response of your town, but here's TU's take. So as a whole, Seneca County has 13 cases, 5 of which have been presumed recovered, whereas 1 unfortunately resulted in a death. The mayor has a specific social media team and task to basically follow what's going on and when to post. And basically he does this when the Wine with D Wine time is just broadcasting at 2 p.m. every day. He live tweets with it. He shares news and regulations with it. So as of April 20th, there was about 13,000 cases. And then, like I said, there was 13 in Seneca County. So Seneca County's response. Basically, the response in Seneca County is the same as it is in Ohio. We're trying to maintain social distancing, trying to maintain basically the lack of not communication, because we're able to communicate virtually, but the lack of direct communication. So the mayor has decided that summer things, as in like camps and group activities, are going to be canceled for this year. It's rather unfortunate, actually, because there's a summer concert series at the place. It's by National Machinery, which I was really looking forward to that. But it's okay. I mean, as long as we're remaining safe, I'm not against anything, I guess. But the mayor also launched this type of face mask kind of initiative to try to get the people of Tiffin into wearing them. So he decided basically to have these like Tiffin Strong free of charge face masks for anybody. It's limited one per person. Strong free of charge face mask for anybody. It's limited one per person. And then all you have to do, there's a phone number. You just get on his Facebook page and you say that you want one, and then you get one. Also, there's like Tiffin Strong t-shirts and Ohio Strong t-shirts at like small boutiques that actually go back to small businesses to help them fund, because Tiffin is mainly a lot of small businesses. Also, there's a lot of changes, so to say, happening around Tiffin, just as it is around Ohio and around the country. We're trying to basically limit people. Like, for example, if you go to Walmart, it's super limited, just as it would be in the United States or even in Ohio. So, my personal opinion, I'm super strongly opinionated, so, well, here's my opinion, I guess. So, I'm considered an essential worker. My job hasn't changed. I work at AJ's in Tiffin. If you know that, it's usually open until midnight, but we've decided to close at 8 every night just to maintain safety. We went to a schedule of 20 people a night to about 11, with people being outside, people being downstairs, people being upstairs. So we're trying to do our best to remain safe. The health department got called on us because somebody peeked back there and said that there was over 10 people, but she came and that wasn't the case. We're just trying to do the best that we can do. I prefer to stay at home anyways. I'm very much a homebody, so my life really hasn't changed, but everything around me has, so I think that that's super cool. I've saved so much money by not going out to eat, by not going to the mall or anything like that. Gas prices are cheap, although I don't really drive much. So overall, I'm saving a whole bunch of money, and I don't mind that. Lastly, we're living in history, so we need to embrace it. These are things that, I mean, obviously it's far away, but we're going to tell our children and our grandchildren about, and I think that that's super cool. So if you could have a journal, or if you save it on your MacBook, just basically what you're doing like per week, and it would be super cool to share that and to have your part of it.
The state that I chose to do was Michigan. Michigan has a total number of 37,778 confirmed cases of coronavirus. The total number of deaths is 3,315. On average, the number of confirmed cases of COVID-19 per day is 575. With that average, the average number of deaths per day is 41. those numbers I got from the official COVID-19 website for Michigan, which was updated today. Michigan has done multiple different things in response to the COVID-19 outbreak in Michigan. Some of the things they've done is a stay-at-home order, which is where you stay at home and do not leave unless you need essential things, and only when you need essential things. And if you do go out, they implied social distancing, which is staying at least 6 feet apart from anybody who's not in your family or in your household. They also recommend wearing masks and gloves when you go to stores to get those essential items when necessary. And with that again, they also recommended that you keep hand sanitizer with you at all times. They also closed all non-essential businesses, which only left open grocery stores, pet stores, pharmacies, hardware stores, and some restaurants for takeout only. The Michigan legislature has passed 2 bills totaling at $150 million in response to COVID-19. This was needed for supplies such as 20 million masks, 255,000 boxes of gloves, 9 million ounces of hand sanitizer, 2,000 beds, 210,000 testing supplies, 3,000 thermometers, 2,000 ventilators, 2.4 million gowns, 185,000 face shields, 22,000 cartons of disinfectant wipes, and other needed supplies as well. My references for all of this is the official Michigan website on COVID-19 that has day-to-day and weekly updates on numbers of confirmed cases total, number of confirmed cases per day, number of deaths in total, and number of deaths per day. And my other reference that I used was a reference about all of the masks, the supplies, the number, and the legislature that was passed by, the 2 bills that was passed by the Michigan legislature.